Good morning, welcome back to the loft. Today is skirting and architrave day on the first floor. Now the loft up there is already done, but that is already in a different episode. So this is just me doing skirtings and architraves. I'm not going to go full on time lapse of me doing everything. All I want to do is show you how I set out, how I rough cut all my skirtings first to get a good pile, rather than having random lengths outside, especially when it gets towards winter, and show you how to do scribes, show you how to do how I set my architraves out, how I measure them and cut all them ready, and mitre glue them all together, put them in as a kit, and then a little couple of tips on if you get the likes of a wall's not quite flat, how you sort your scribes out, where you set your scribes out in terms of when you walk into a room, which way should the scribe be. I'm going to go through all that and hope you enjoy it. I'm not sure you can decipher my scroll on there, but all I've basically got here now is this is my architrave one. So I go into each room and I'll mark, which room it is, and I know that that is a double head, that is a right hand head, that is a left hand head, blah blah. So when I say that, this one for example is front bed stairs because it's next to the stairs, and I've got a left hand mitre, right hand square, which is that look. Left hand mitre, right hand square. So I'll get a measurement once I have marked a 6mm margin on there, so it's even, rough 6mm margin over there, look, and then I'll put one in the centre and one on the bottom. So I'll cut all these on the saw. One thing I normally do is this one here, I won't cut it square, I'll sort of put a slight bevel that way, so if there is a roll in that corner, it won't kick the architrave over this way, but if there is, I can always take the edge off with the saw anyway. Got myself all set up ready to go. So I'll do that first, and then what I'll do is I'll make that up as a complete leg. I shall mitre bond that and then veneer pin that, or my 23 gauge pinner, and then put that on as a kit. Only thing I will say is, with that one is you can't, I say you can't, you can do that, but I don't generally do that if I'm doing old doors and frames, because 9, probably 8 times out of 10, you can pretty much guarantee that the head and the left or right hand legs aren't square. You can try it, but generally I've found that if I've done it that way, and then when you try and manipulate it square, it breaks the mitre, and then you're stuck. Then you got to try and recut it. And so I only do it if I put the frames in, which I have in this instance. So moving on then, I've got skirtings now. Now as you can imagine, you get them in, or some of you that know, you get them in like a 5.4 metre length or something generally. And this is 6-inch Taurus. I'll go into more detail as we get to start cutting these. I'll show you what my little drawings mean, but this is just for me. This isn't, how you should do it. This is just how I decipher it. Then what I do, I've got a couple of piles. We've had to move them because the plaster's been here. I've got a couple of piles there, and I've got a couple of piles down the stairs. I've still got my heads to cut because we were a couple of lengths short. All that there now is all cut, and what I've done is I've wrote on the back of them the sizes that I've just told you. I generally allow a couple of mil just for saw thickness and what have you. So that's what I generally do. Right, I'll get into that then. I'll show you when I start making my architraves up, and then we'll move on to fitting. Right, so as you can see, all I've done exactly the same with the legs. I've been round and measured from the floor to the marks that I showed you already on the frame, and I've cut the internal, where the door is, are always going to be longer because I've obviously got the rebate. So I've gone to the smallest measurement, which is only 2mm difference anyway, throughout the whole first floor, and I've cut these legs exact, pattern cut them, so again to try and keep them square. And the outside, the landing ones where there's no door, of course, they're thicker, so they're going to be smaller, so I've cut all those ready. All I do now is I lay these on my floor like that, pick a flat floor, get my square out, put that in the corner like that, and then get my mitre bond, and then do that, get my 23 gauge pin. I put a couple of pins in as well, just so when I'm moving it I'm not going to split the glue, and that's what I do. So let's just go around and repeat that, and then I go around picking them up, sticking them in the doorways and pinning them down. Pretty quick with this stuff on this MDF because it dries really quick. That's the only bit of a problem with this. key as well to make sure when you use your glue, you get all this nice and flat. Because once it's gone off, you ain't getting the part unless you break it. If you put it on timber, give it a little bit of a move as you're doing it because you don't want it sticking to the floor either. Which I've done, which is why I now do that. Right, so now it's done. Bought this after I'd started to replace my guns. My 18 gauge Paslо went, so I bought this one, which is a 16 gauge. And then I bought the framing nailer when my Bostitch one went. So I ended up buying the kit. I bought this one, this is 23 gauge. Now, you can't really see it on there, but these pins are ridiculously small. They're great for this because you haven't got to fill them because the paint fills the pinholes. And what's this is great for as well, if you want to put something in temporary, like if you're doing a scribe for example, you can use this, and when you pull it out, you can literally sand it and the hole's gone again. Absolutely brilliant piece of kit. If you haven't got one of these and you're thinking about it, then I'd stop thinking about it because it's a great tool. We've used this for loads of stuff, not just fine joinery. On the garden room, we wanted to temporary pin a bit of cedar on to get our line right, and when you took it off, we couldn't even see the pinholes. Fantastic. I'll do that repeat now. I'll go in again, do all my frames and pin them all in one go. Pick it up as a kit, just be careful obviously because it's only glued. You've already got your marks on your frame, which I've got there, which correspond with what I've got there. And then I can just eye these legs down there. I've got my little combination square. Ooh, see? Gotta be careful, gotta watch what you're doing. I'm trying to film at the same time. I'm a bloke and I'm trying to multitask. So yeah, and then you just pin them, get your set square, get your margin right, and that's it. That's all I do. Go all the way around, pin them, all of them together, and then off I go on my skirtings. Right then, I've got a scribe and architrave in. Forget the fact that I've made a kit up and tried to rush ahead. I would have done this before I'd put it together like that. As you can see, it's together. So that's my problem now. But anyway, what I'm going to do is, I've shown this before. Just show the, it's got to go in that much, plus the thickness of my margin. Now the gap I showed you, that's what I've got to go in. So that little gap there, look. So what I'll do is, whatever that gap is there, I add it to that gap, and that's the amount I've got to scribe off this wall to get it all the way over to get back to this mark. So I've showed this before. Quite a good bit of kit. Never had one before. I've always just used a bit of wood, if I'm honest. But I'm going to use this. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my measurement on here, which I have put it in. In fact, I've just used my square actually to get it the same, so I can check that. That is 9mm, and I know because I'm going to measure it again that that is. Ooh, I'm going to say 7. So 16mm, so I'll set this to 16mm now. I'll run that up the wall, 16mm, cut it off, and then that's it. It'll go back to that mark over there. As you can see, the wall, external wall, existing, it's just a bit out as you can see. At the bottom, it is already, that's 16mm already at the bottom. So in fact, I've got to go in, it's going to go in 32mm at the bottom, in essence. So 16mm across, scribe that. Sorry, telling you lies. 16mm, so it'll go to nothing at the bottom, won't it? Because it'll be nothing.
Dumbass.
So there we are. I'll do that, and I'll show you what I've done, and I'll shut up gabbling. Took advantage of the fact that I can scrape the bonding back a little bit because this is all got to be skimmed. Now, for all the people that may pick up the fact that yes, we could bond this wall out square and flat, there's a few reasons why we haven't, and the main reason is because of the stone sills. So we can't get it out without it really messing up the whole stone, taking all the stone sills off, and they want to keep the traditional windows, and it creates a whole snowball effect. So this one has got to be skimmed anyway. So in actual fact, what Matt will probably do, I'll ask him to do, is probably give me 10 mil to nothing, and just pull the bond into here maybe, and then skim that in just to make that line look better. But that's all tight there now, up against there. I mean, yes, I could probably left a couple of mil and pulled it over a bit more, and then filled it with skim, but that can be skimmed in now into there and corked, so that's all good. Right, so that's the last one now. All I'm going to do now is sort out my skirtings, and I'll show you how I did that, but it's pretty similar way I do it, where I get all my lengths, rough cut them all, mark them all on the back, all the sizes, after I've been in all the rooms, and then I'll start from one end and work my way all the way around. So we'll move on to skirtings now. So I'm going to do this room first because it's clearest, so I can then move stuff from other rooms, even though we have started to can stuff away to our back to our lockup, and start in this room. So as I've already said previously already, there's my list, and if you can see this one in particular now, rear bed, and I've got a square next to 1840. Now I know what I'm saying about starting from a certain position is that when you do your scribes, what you want to try and do where possible is have your scribe furthest away from you when you walk in. And what I mean by that is that wall there, I'm going to do that one square piece first. So when I walk into the room like this, my scribe is on this piece, so I can't see the scribe until I come and stand here, which means when it's decorated, any shrinkage won't be seen from here, which is your main doorway, your main focal point, plus the fact the window's behind the same as well. So, and then what I'll do at the same that one, I'll have my scribe there and mitre there, which is what that is, square and mitre there with a scribe on this side. That's what that represents in mitre for me. And then the next one is going to be a mitre and then a square. That's what that is, square. And then I'm doing the scribe here because again I'm walking in this way. I don't want the scribe that way, I want it that way. So it's as I walk into the room, plus I mean there's a bed going there now, but that doesn't make a difference. I like to follow myself all the way around, so keeping the sort of scribe on the same side if you like where possible. So like I say, that one is going to be left hand side, and that one's going to be straight, and that one's left hand side, that one's going to be straight, that one's left hand side, and so on and so on. You can see where I'm going with that one now. So I'll do this now. I've checked these are all done with a digital measure. So when I got my rough lengths, what I did was I walked around the room, digi-measuring with a Hilti digi-measure, walked around, got a linear meterage of all the skirting that I needed, and then added on 10% for all the mitres that you got to cut out of it. That's what I did. And then I went round again, measured it exactly. The one where there's a scribe and a mitre, I've allowed probably 15 mil or something like that onto each of them. So what I normally do is put my square one is cut a piece square, the next one, that chimney one, I'll cut my scribe on, run it into it, and then I'll mark the back it, but I'll show you how I do that anyway. I don't necessarily cut my mitres to a measurement because you don't know if the walls are right, especially in older houses or in newer ones, to be perfectly honest. I've worked on sites and I wasn't really happy, if I'm honest, but there you go. So I'll show you how I do it, and then we'll go from there. Like I say, a couple of tips on scribing and what to do when you come across certain problems. Right then, so we'll crack on. Okay, so got the full piece on there. As you can see, the floor's quite bad. Now, any other instance, I'd probably scribe that, but because this is being carpeted and what have you, if I scribe it, then it creates more trouble for this one, it creates more trouble for that one, so I'm going to leave that. I'm happy with that. Now, just a quick one. This skirting has gone on a bit out of, you can't see it very well, a bit out of square, because those of you who do this, I've done it a lot, like me, you'll find at the bottom the plaster, you know, the belly's out at the bottom. Now, you can do a couple of things. You can cut it off, which then means you've got to pack back out again to give your skirt something to fix to, or you can tap it off your hammer. Now, what I will say to you is do not hit it with your hammer in an old house. If it's wet plaster like this one, I did it once years ago, I hit it with a hammer just to tap the bit of a bell off the bottom, and it cracked up here and took a whole lump of plaster off. That was painful, that cost me a few quid. So what I will do, say here in this instance, you'll never ever see this I mean, I'm talking, you can see the scribe there actually. That's how much it's out. That is 2mm. What I will say to just do something as simple as this. Now, I'm using this Hult Force pencil that everyone's got now. It's better with a carpenter's pencil, but if you just sort of look at that now, or if I can get this right, I'll just get my pencil like that now and just give it a quick sort of run down there like that. Now what I've done there is I've marked that, and you can see now I'm going to put that on there. The other thing you can do, which I'll show you another trick later on, is you can put a little tiny wedge, if it's not too much, and then I could have done it with this, but you can put a tiny wedge in the back of there and just tap it a little bit, because again, this plaster bellies in, you can see by the fact it's touching there, it's not touching there. You can tap a tiny little wooden wedge and pull the top over, so the skirting does that and pulls over, and that does it as well, which I'll show you that trick later on. But I'll scribe that one, because what I have done, which you can see, I always back cut them, always. So it just means I can run that off with the planer now, no problem. Likewise with the scribe, I'll back cut all that as well. It looks a bit rough, but when it's if I lift that up so I can touch, you can see that's perfect. If I lift it up off the floor, look, so that's a perfect cut. But that's one of the good reasons why you should back cut it, because you get a sharper edge to then touch that. And if it is tiny bit out, you can just tap it with a hammer before you put your mitre on, and that's it. Right, so I'll just recut this and I'll show you where we are for the next stage. So I'm moving on to the first scribe now in that room, which is around the chimney. Now, when it used to be pine, I always used to cut my mitre on the top there, then I used to turn it round, back cut it a little bit so it goes in nice and tight, and then flick it off with the saw. But with MDF, if you do that now, if you try and cut down there and flick it, it just smashes all this off because it's rubbish. It's great, paint's nice, but don't like as much as pine. But there you go, it's what we use now, so I've got to get over it, and I have. Now, a lot of people cut this on the saw now, put that on the saw and run down there, but I still like to cut it by hand. I mark that, and all I do is just get my pencil and I just do that. Just if you're going a bit blind like me, I just run that there like that, and it just shows it a little bit more. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but all it is now, it just highlights the edge a little bit better, for especially when the light's not that great, which is what it is. So I'll cut down there and I'll run that bit off with my my coping saw. Okay, so I've cut that. Cut now. MDF, it just breaks off. I hate it when I cut it there, a little bit there. I mean, I know it gets corked in, but it just never cuts as nice as timber used to. Anyway, I'll shut up now. I'll get with the times. So what you can do, you can measure that, and I've seen lads on site measure it and they just add a couple of mil, but that's fine. But when you've got old houses, this is what I like to do. So make sure that's right first, that's fixed. Make sure that's right and tight. Now I'll put my foot on it, then what I'll do is this. So back of the skirting, I'll just mark it like that. Ooh, if I'm in focus there. Take it back to the saw. Let's have a look. Let's have a look, shall we? Right, can you see that? That is, so turn that light down. Turn that light off, that's better. Let me get focused. So you can just see there, that's probably about 1.5 mil out. So what I'll do now is, I'll find my longest point, which is down the bottom, and I'll cut it to that. Because it probably means, again, now I know that wall's quite flat because we put this one in. It's just the fact that this floor's coming up, because you know that's kicking up. I've kicked this up a little bit, that's why that's like that. But again, it's not a problem. You're never ever going to see that 1.5 mil out of plumb. Not going to happen. So I'll take that to saw and I'll cut it to this point. Oh, focus, there we are. Cut it to this point, and it just means that when I've cut it, I'll probably be about there, like that. And that's where the mitre will be. So all I will do again, like that, mark it, and then all I'll normally do as well is do that. See, I could have done it wrong. Mark that like that. And I'll know, see, I could have done it wrong. I'll know now that on my saw, that's the way I've got to cut it. Especially if your saw only bevels one way. I mean, mine goes both ways, but you know, it's one of them. Just make sure. Okay, so we're going to cut that and we'll come back and do the next one. So I've cut that one. That one's all ready to go. Before we put it on now. I've already got this pre-cut, so make sure that's right in the corner. Sometimes you might have to bevel that back as well, depending on how bad this was, but again, this is square. So that's square again, same again. Mark it on there, check that square, see what we got this time. Okay, that's actually nice. It's nicer when it's longer at the top because you know the mott is now going to have no gap at the top of the skirting. So I'll cut that one now, then I can fix these two together, then I'll cut my scribe on this one, and then I can get a measurement off this skirting onto that one. Do that now. This is the last bit of footage where I'm going to show, and then I'll just crack on with it and get the whole house done. So I've got this one now, I've done that scribe there now to this one. Two ways of doing it. I've cut the scribe on that. I've checked it on a bit of an offcut because I don't want to keep bringing the full length in and around this land and all around here. And I'm good, happy with the scribe. All I've got to do is check the square, which I can adjust that with a little bit of the block plane and whatever. So what I'll do now is I've got my Digimeasure. Or you can do it with the tape measure, but it's just when you're on your own. So put it on your wall, like that. And then press the button. Put it to the corner. Okay, let me just check that again because that moved. Okay, 3163. So if I measure that now from the cut I've already done, which if I take you in here quick, so I've already got that. Got that cut on there ready, and so I've just got to, because it's a bit bigger, I've just put that on there like that, make sure I'm happy with it, and I am, so that's fine. Measure from here now, 3163, that end, cut it off square. Okay, just check this one, more than happy with it. I may just show you a little method of getting the scribe tight, but what I've got now is stud wall. I just want to find my, my screws. So I bought this, it's a Franklin sensor, based on watching a channel called Perkins Builder Brothers. Now, I quite like watching their channel, really enjoy their videos, and they use this a lot, so I thought, you know what, I'll take a punt and I'll go for it. At 50-something quid on Amazon, you might be able to get it cheaper, but I wanted it quick, so, in fact, oh no, that was a screw pop then, so. So I'm going to go see how this goes, and I forgot I got it, you see, I started to glue up and I was just going to go for it, but let's try and move this out of my way. Bit dropping the glue on myself. Let's see. Now you have to run it across and hold this button like that. In fact, let's turn the light off. That might be easier. So put this across like that, and apparently the lights come on when there's a stud. Apparently. There we are. So if you get that in the centre, what I could do now is I'll just mark the centre of that hole, and there you go all the way across. That's something else. Now I think it picks up wires as well, so I think when it starts like there, when it does that, I think it's picked up some kind of wire from what I can gather, and it's 3 dots that's stud. So again, that's a stud, which looks about right, because that looks about 450 from there. So I'll do that all the way along and find myself some studs. I'm happy with that. If you wanted to look at another use of it, Ad has actually just done a video on all of his spotlights that we've got 40 something of all around the place, and he's hit every single one of them, and he used this to make sure that the floor joist that's there, and we don't touch it, and it is right where it says. So we're happy with that. Good purchase. I've had a couple of these and they've been rubbish, absolute dog toffee, but this has been good so far. There we are. That's fitted, stood fine, I found every single one. Well, so you can see there now there's a tiny gap. Now you could argue, yep, when she's painted it won't be seen, but that's not the point, and that's not me. So I'm showing a little trick that I use for that instance that isn't going to have any detriment at all to the fitting or anything like that, but it just closes that gap up and makes me feel better. Right, so I've just cut myself some little thin wedges, and so they're not big chunky things. You don't want to smash the place up, just some slow wedges. And all you do, you get this now and you put it in there like that, just at the back, and then if I demonstrate properly. Let me get me hammer. I can try and hold the camera. And is it going to focus? There we are, and that's got that right up. Look, another reason for you to make sure that when you do these, you back cut them a little bit because that's quite sharp. It bites into there, and all I do then is that's it. And if you have got a little tiny bit like I have there, so you don't go over it with cork, just get your knife, cut it off. That's it. Little trick that I use, and that's a cut. If you're a 1/4 gap, then you wouldn't do it. You know, you do what I did before, or you'd knock the back of the wall off or whatever. But yeah, keep some of them. Always keep these when I'm doing skirting. Cut myself some at the start. Keep them in my pocket. Hope you like that little tip. That's it then. Right, I'll carry on. Got a lot to do. So the skirting, architrave and all trims and scribes are all done now. But we are what day is it today? We are 4 days on. It's not always easy to film what we want to film all in one go. Plus at the time, I don't know if he was in the video when I shot it, but Matt was here finishing some plastering off. So I'm just going to walk you around now, just quickly show you what I've done, how I've done it, and the finished product really. We have actually already been round and corked and filled the skirtings in readiness for any painting that's going to happen, which is going to be done by the customer now. We're not going to spray it downstairs at all. They want to get that done themselves, which is perfectly fine by us. So I'll turn you around, we'll have a walk round and show what we've got. Okay, so you have to excuse the light, it's quite a dull, horrible day outside, raining. And of course there's no second fix electrics as yet. You will see it all on the channel once it's all complete with lights on. So these two have been left off because there's 2 extra sockets going there now. These are old ones, so forget that. 2 extra sockets going there now, so they aren't fixed, that one and that one. Hence the joints aren't the best because they're not even fixed to the wall yet. We've got to pull feeds from these extra. So yeah, done all these, all the scribes are done there. Architraves all done. Just some bull-nosed skirt there, or arc, sorry, because if I use this one, you end up sort of cutting half into this and it looks dog toffee. So that's why we don't do that. So this one is all done, but this is the room now. We've started putting everything in because we wanted to cork and fill all the rooms. These are all done. All I did with this one, where you've got the same sort of scribe that you can't use this and put a bastard mitre in there, is I've just got some bullnose, cut it down the saw and made it the same thickness as that. So it just all sits nice and flush there. Sand it in and that sits quite nice. We've cut this all over here and put a 3-inch bullnose up the stairs. That's all the way up there. I had to do a bit of a mitre up there. A couple of different mitres up there. All I did with that was I just put one block on there, and then just marked roughly where it was, cut it on the saw a couple of times, and then butted the 2-piece offcuts together, and when they met, that's what I did. I didn't do any kind of fancy measuring or fancy measuring tools or anything like that. Nothing like that. Sometimes it's just quicker just to use bits of wood and cut mitres what you think, and then use the best. So that one there, I've just returned a mitre to drop that down to this and then chamfered this stringer off. That's just the best way you can finish things. These are all done, but as you know, there's no header on there because that's just straight to door frame because of the height of the loft. So moving on, this is all done. That one, I've put this bit of arc up here and obviously finish this in the back of here. That won't be finished yet until I've got the base on there for what we'll then take the base rail for the stairs, and the half nails go in there, so I need to return that to that. So that's not fixed, but it's cut. That's all cut to there. This is all finished. One of the reasons why I couldn't film this finishing is because I couldn't get this on because this wall wasn't plastered, but it is now. Mitre the last piece, use all the pieces I've got, put a mitre on there, so I've sanded that so it's nice and flat. On there, top of the stringer, all I've done is I've just returned a bit of skirt and then put a return mitre. So this stringer meets the flat of the architrave, of the skirting, sorry. So that's it, this is all complete in here. This is the one where I actually started the video off in the, you know, the external, internal mitres and the scribe, so that's done all the way around there. So there we are then. Oh yeah, and I put the window board on there as well. So that's it. So I hope you've got something from this channel. My apologies, I have lost the footage of me cutting the scribe out on the skirting with a coping saw, but in honesty you can see that on loads of skirting channels and what have you. This is just how I do it, little bits of tips on what I tend to do to try and help myself make it look nice. And also this is part of the loft conversion series that, you know, the regular viewers to the channel will know that's what we're doing at the moment. And also, if we just give you a sneaky preview, that bathroom is all done now. That's all finished, other than obviously the window. So if you want to see that series, that's in the, I'll put that in the end screen along with the garden room that Mick's doing. So I'll put that in the end screen as well, so you can take a look at both of those. It's just a bit of extras that we're doing in part of our loft conversion channel. So thank you for watching as always, and don't forget to hit that like button for us, because it means a lot when people like it, because we've made a lot of effort to make it. Or any comments that you've got, any things how you normally do it, how you don't like how I've done it. I don't mind you telling me you don't like it, but just give me a reason why, and give me another reason why I should do then. Give me something I should do instead, rather than just picking. I've had a few comments recently, people saying, well, anyway, there's no need, is there? So anyway, I'm going to leave you now, and don't forget to take a look at the end screen videos that are on the screen right now. Thank you.